Hello, this is Catherine Milleron. This is Make It Make Sense, and it is still Monday, January 27th. I just want to pass along some more information to you. This is just a bit of a history lesson, and let's compare and contrast to what happened in history to what is happening at this very moment. This article is from The Atlantic, and it is entitled How Hitler Dismantled a Democracy in 53 Days. 92 years ago, this month, on Monday morning, January 30th, 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed the 15th Chancellor of the Weimar Republic. In one of the most astonishing political transformations in the history of democracy, Hitler set about destroying a constitutional republic through constitutional means. Sound familiar? What follows is a step-by-step account of how Hitler systematically disabled and then dismantled his country's democratic structures and processes in less than 2 months' time. Specifically, 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes. The minutes, as we will see, mattered. Hans Frank served as Hitler's private attorney and chief legal strategist in the early years of the Nazi movement, while later awaiting execution in Nuremberg for his complicity in Nazi atrocities. Frank commented on his client's uncanny capacity for sensing the potential weakness inherent in every formal form of law, and then ruthlessly exploiting that weakness. Following his failed beer hall putsch of November 1923, Hitler had renounced trying to overthrow the Weimar Republic by violent means, but not his commitment to destroying the country's democratic system. A determination he reiterated in a legislated legality oath before the Constitution Court in September 1930, invoking Article 1 of the Weimar Constitution, which stated that government was an expression of the will of the people. Hitler informed the court that once he had achieved power through legal means, he intended to mold the government as he saw fit. It was an astonishing, brazen statement. And, I would venture to guess that when he made that statement, people were like, wonder what he means by that. And probably, maybe did not take him seriously. Does that also sound familiar? Donald Trump has surrounded himself with his loyalists. He has appointed cabinet members, most of which are completely unqualified or just very, very, very dangerous. And their only qualification is that they are loyal to him and that they carry out any of his executive orders or any of his instructions. That is what the requirement is for a job in the cabinet at this point in Washington. So, and we see it happening already. So, through constitutional means, the presiding judge asked, like trying to say, are you going to do this constitutionally? Yahweh, Hitler replied. In January 1933, the fallibilities of the Weimar Republic, whose 181 article constitution framed the structures and processes for its 18 federated states, were as obvious as they were abundant, having spent a decade in opposition politics. Hitler knew firsthand how easily an ambitious political agenda could be scuttled. He had been co-opting or crushing right-wing competitors and paralyzing legislative processes for years. And for the previous 8 months, he had played obstructionist politics, helping to bring down the 3 chancellors, twice forcing the president to dissolve the Reichstag and call for new elections. So, again, I want to say that what we are seeing happen today, it parallels this. It honestly does. Runs parallel. And it should be very concerning to every American, regardless of who you voted for, regardless of what political party you affiliate with. It should be concerning. When he became chancellor himself, Hitler wanted to prevent others from doing unto him what he had done unto them. Though the vote share of his National Socialist Party had been rising in the election of September 1930, following the 1929 market crash, they had increased their representation in the Reichstag almost ninefold, from 12 delegates to 107, and in the July 1932 elections, they had more than doubled the mandate to 230 seats. They were still far from a majority, but their seats amounted to only 37% of the legislative body, and the larger right-wing coalition and the Nazi Party was part of the controlled barely 31% of the Reichstag. But Hitler believed that he should exercise absolute power. 37% represents 75% of 51%, he argued to one American reporter, by which he meant that possessing the relative majority of a simple majority was enough to grant him absolute authority. But he knew that in a multi-party political system with shifting coalitions, his political calculus was not so simple. He believed in an empowering law was crucial to his political survival, but passing such a law would dismantle the separation of powers, grant Hitler's executive branch the authority to make laws without parliamentary approval, and allow Hitler to rule by decree. Bypassing democratic institutions and the Constitution required the support of a two-thirds majority in the fractious Reichstag. So we see what Donald Trump did on his very first day in office. He signed, I don't know how many it was. It was a large number of executive orders. And, you know, executive orders, yes, they exist and they can be used. And I think the original purpose is for like emergency situations where a decision has to be made quickly and they aren't going to have the time to run it up the chain through House and the Senate and all of that. So the president will sign an executive order for that reason. So, but he is signing executive orders to bypass any checks and balances and to be able to implement whatever he desires to have implemented. Now, are some of these executive orders being challenged? Absolutely. But, you know, he has the Supreme Court in his pocket, a Supreme Court that he appointed, and also that he made sure that they passed that legislation that any sitting president would not be held accountable for any crimes they commit while they are president. That was done preemptively for this very reason. And, you know, there are so many of us that saw this coming. We saw it coming, and now it's here. And so you got to pay attention, and knowing your history and even brushing up on your history is a big help. Because as we know that what continued to happen within those 52 days, you know, within those 52 days, he had Jews in concentration camps and in gas chambers, and he murdered 6 million Jews. But it started out with what they were calling mass deportations, and it consisted of anyone who was not white, basically. So they were put in concentration camps. Sound familiar? What do we see happening now? You know, I posted a video that I had seen on TikTok, and I know that, you know, you can take what's said on TikTok with a grain of salt, but this prison company, I think it's called Geo. I think that's what it's called. You know, their stocks have gone way up, and there's talks of them working deals out to house these immigrants. And in my next video, I'm going to follow up on another video that I posted about this new bill in Mississippi, and now they have there's talks of a very, very similar bill being passed in Missouri. So I'm gonna get my information on that, and that will be my next video because we all just need to know what's going on. So I will see you again soon.